I have been asked by so many different people how I actually identify limiting beliefs. So I'm going to answer that question. We're going to get into it today.
I don't know how this thing works, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway. I don't know how this will turn out, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway. I don't know how this thing works, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway. I don't know how this will turn out, but screw it, I'ma do it anyway.
What is up, good people? It's your girl, Nikki P. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Untamed, where we are talking about creating lives by you and not for you. What I mean by that is we are creating lives that we love. So many of us have gotten used to somebody else telling us what we should be, how we should be, what we should be doing, how we should be doing it, all those things. So when I say that we are talking about creating lives by us and not for us, I am talking about we are creating lives suited for us, and we are the deciding factor. We are the ones who get to choose to live in authenticity and not choose to live by the status quo. So now, with that being said, like I said in my intro, today we are going to dive into my personal step-by-step process of how I identify limiting beliefs, because we cannot talk about creating a life that you love without talking about the foundation of what's keeping you from getting to the point where you are creating the life and living the life that you love. And that culprit is limiting beliefs. So there is a whole cycle that I have learned that happens with your belief system. It starts from a belief. I believe. It turns into the thought. Then that thought turns into words. The words become actions. And then those consistent actions, the habits, create your outcome. So it starts like, I believe, dot, dot, dot. So I think, dot, dot, dot. So I say, dot, dot, dot. So I act, or so I do, dot, 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 which brings me to dot, dot, dot. And every time we come to the same conclusion or a certain outcome, it reinforces the belief. So you circle all the way back to the beginning of that belief cycle and you start all over again. And it just stays on repeat. And the problem is, when we talk about creating a life that we love, and you go, when you start doing the different things, you set the goals. All right, I'm going to do this. I want to do this in my life. I'm going to start that business. I'm going to go travel. I'm going to do this and do that. And you think that you need to change the action. So you start with, what is that, like step 4 in the whole loop cycle. And that's not the place to start, because your action was determined by what you said, which was determined by what you thought, and what you thought was determined by what you believed. But you're starting in like step 4, and you're trying to just start from there and like, oh, well, if I just change what I do every day, then I can start being this person and living this life. That's not how that works. You have to start with the limiting belief, because it's not all beliefs. The limiting belief is the actual culprit. Don't worry though, I got you, friend. I'm going to talk you through my actual process. So I don't start with the question of what is my limiting belief, because who really knows the answer to that question, right? Like, that's such a deep question, and if you just start there like, oh, what is my limiting belief, then you just kind of sit there and you're like, well, I don't actually know. So what I do is, my first step is looking at how I feel, the emotion or trigger. So if I feel a certain emotion, I clock what that emotion is. Am I irritated? Am I angry? Am I avoidant? Am I sad? I clock the emotion because emotions are always clues as to what is something is wrong. That is what emotions are. So my first step is I feel the emotion and my question is what happened? My second step is I look for the patterns. When do I feel this way? What happened to make me like when do I feel this way? How often do I feel this way? Is it always this person? Is it always this type of circumstance? Like what are the patterns with this emotion that I feel for whatever the thing is that I've identified? My third step is I pay attention to the self talk. So a lot of times when we have an emotional reaction to something, there usually is some kind of thought that comes immediately with it. This is why I do stuff. This is why I do this by myself. This is why I don't even ask for help. This is why I don't even depend on nobody. This is why I don't even take risks like that. Cause see what happens. This is why I don't date. This is why I don't be on the apps. This is why I ain't even fooling with y'all. I pay attention to what am I saying internally because that is also a clue as to what the belief is behind all of that. My fourth step is what do I have to believe that makes everything that I'm saying make sense? And in challenging myself with that, like step 4 and step 5 kind of go hand in hand together for me because I'm questioning the self-talk and I'm challenging the belief because usually at this stage I've identified what that belief is. So I start to challenge that belief. Is that really true though? Is that what that means? Are you sure that's what that means? Well, and this is actually where journaling comes into play. So I don't start with the journal, but I use a journaling practice to help me flush the questions out to go deeper to understand a little bit more about what is happening to me. And so yeah, step 4 of does this make sense and challenging the belief, those two steps go hand in hand for me. And also in the challenging the belief, this is where I dig a little bit more into where did this come from? Like, who taught you that? Who taught you that? Is it something that came about in childhood? Is it something that came from, did you have a bad experience and you had this experience and this is why you have this belief and this is why you're saying things like, this is why I just do stuff myself. This is why I don't even, this is those things. So these are the type of questions that I ask myself in those like 2 steps. And then my final step is choosing a more empowered belief, an empowered truth, because changing this perspective, this is what I am ultimately going to use to get me to change the whole rest of that cycle. Because if the now new empowered belief is the one that is starting the cycle, then my thoughts are now being dictated by that, and then my words are being dictated. This is where affirmations come in, affirmations and mantras come in. And then my actions, now what I say, what I plan, how I show up. And then the consistency of it is the habit. And then that will generate a new outcome because I changed the belief, not the action, not even just the words. Because sometimes the issue that I have sometimes with affirmations is that sometimes people will just come up with just affirmations. Oh, I'm just going to say this affirmation. I am good with money. Money comes to me always. I'm in a loving relationship. I'm in this. And they'll change the words. But if you didn't change the belief, it's literally going to work against the words that you say to yourself. They'll be in contradiction with each other. So there will be some kind of confusion and interruption there, and you will still default back to that same belief that will change the words that you say, that will then influence your actions, take you through the same habit, and then you'll still be back in that same loop of the same result starting from that belief. You have to attack the belief first. So those are my steps. I feel the emotion, number one, clock it, what just happened. Number two, I look for the patterns. When is this happening? How often is this happening? Step three, what am I saying to myself? What is my self talk? Step four and step five, does what I'm saying make sense? Is this challenging it? Is it true? Is this actually true? Is that what that means? Does this really mean that? And then the final step is choosing a new empowered belief, a new perspective, and really journaling that, writing it, saying it, really embodying that new perspective so that I can get a new outcome. So now that I've given you those steps, let me walk you through an actual, like, real life situation. This is something that I'm really dealing with right now because it's actually one of the hardest beliefs for me to switch. So, is a situation with one of my clients where they're depending on me heavily for a specific workload, for a specific training. And my first instinct is to exit stage left. The emotion, avoidance. So when I feel like wanting to run, wanting to exit, my question to myself was, okay, what just happened? Oh, I'm upset that this particular client is seems to really be heavily dependent on me for this thing. This is something that she should be able to do without having to have me handhold her. I don't want this responsibility. This is getting on my nerves. This is making me irritated, and I really want to run. I want to run. So that's clocking the emotion. The pattern, every time I am in a situation where somebody is depending on me too much, I have the same reaction. I want to exit stage left. I get irritated. I'm angry. What do you want? Why are you leaning on me so much? What is my self talk? Some of what I just said. Why can't, oh God, why are so many people dependent on me? Oh my God, if they keep dependent on me, that means that I won't really have the flexibility and the freedom to move around. It's almost like a person that's really heavily dependent on me, they're always going to be holding me back. I got to drag them along. I got to really step into this role of, like, almost parenting this person. Like, oh my God, somebody else dependent on me. Oh, I'm always being dependent upon. Oh, because I'm the reliable one and I'm the, responsible one. And I always get voluntold in situations to do this certain thing that I didn't ask for. This is some of my self talk, and some of it makes me feel like if I don't shine, if I don't excel in certain spaces, if I shrink more, people will depend on me less. And I won't risk losing my freedom to being drained by somebody who just needs me constantly. And so the next step of questioning that is, what do I need to believe about this to make this true? So I have to believe that every person that is dependent on me is draining me. Every person that is dependent on me is always going to take advantage of me. Every person that is dependent on me, I have a responsibility and an obligation to be who they expect and need me to be. So then the challenge to that is, do you know? Do you actually need to do that? Do you have to? Are you really just subjected to whatever somebody else's needs are without considering your own? Is that, and is everybody out to take advantage of you just because they happen to be dependent upon you for something that you do well? Is that true? So, like, even walking through those steps of really challenging all the things that I believe that I'll be taken advantage of, that I'll be in a situation that I can't get out of, and I have to shrink to protect myself and all those things, but challenging it, saying, well, no, no. And what the real problem is not people dependent upon me. This is what I learned in my work. It's not that people are dependent upon you. The real problem is not setting boundaries. That's the problem. People can be dependent on you, but you can set boundaries to say, I am available for this and I am available for that. I am not available for this and I am not available for that. And so, again, this is where journaling really helps through working through this, is challenging that belief of, oh my God, I don't have any choices here. Oh my God, my freedom is being taken away. No, it's actually not. You just need to put some fences around you. That's it. So the empowered belief is that I can be highly visible. I don't have to shrink. I can be highly visible. I can excel in what I do best and be absolutely protected by the boundaries I put in place. Just because I am seen and I am visible and I am a leader does not mean that I am subject to be drained by somebody else's dependencies. I can set boundaries. My power has not been taken away. I can set boundaries. So that's how I get to all of that. Now, there's an additional process that goes through once you learn like what the limiting belief is, and once you change your thought process around it and shift the focus and the perspective around it, there is an additional process of you having to really embody it, because your nervous system has gotten very used to the emotional pattern that you have every time you come across somebody that causes this specific reaction. But this is how I start the process of identifying the belief, because if I can identify it, it means I can change it. It's when I don't know what it is, when I cannot call it by its name, that has power over me and I'm stuck in this cycle. So if you don't get anything out of what I have said to you today, I want you to really know, what I really want you to take away from this is, one, you don't have to have this really elaborate way of determining what your limiting beliefs are. If you just pay attention, because they show up every day, I promise you that there's something in your life that just shows up every day. If you just pay attention to the patterns, to the emotions, don't try to suppress them. They are clues, it is data, and it is okay to feel what you feel. But pay attention to those things and just observe. That is what I want you to take from it, because I want us all to enjoy our lives. And the culprit that's keeping us from living our best life and being the most authentic to who we are is the belief that we can't be, that we don't deserve, that it's not possible. So I want you to take away from this that you can figure out what your limiting belief is. You can change it and embody a more empowered one. So, that being said, if you would like, I do have a resource to assist with identifying your limiting belief, and that is my belief audit worksheet. I will have that in the description. I will also pin it in my comments. And yes, thank you. If you have stayed with me this long, I appreciate you. Thanks for rocking with me. Let's go live life. Let us create a life that we love waking up to. Let's, like, no excuses. Let the rest of 2026 and the rest of your life be a series of bold decisions that align with who you are and being